Step down. Step down as you podium. That will be the end. Trish.
Excuse me, sir. Good morning. Thank you, everybody, for coming. My name is James Covington. I am the Regional Communications Director for ICE Northeast. More importantly, today, I am the Communications Director for ICE Boston. Thank you for coming out to our press conference announcing the results of a recent enhanced immigration targeted operation. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to the Acting Director of ICE, Todd Lyons.
Good afternoon, everyone. Before we begin, I just want to take a special thank you to thank our partners. Without partnership, this is really key to the success of the ICE mission and DHS as a whole. To U.S. Attorney Leah Foley, the Boston Field Office Director Patricia Hyde, Special Agent in Charge Michael Crow, Mike Manning, Customs and Protection, Boston, Scott Reed of the ATF, Matt O'Brien at Diplomatic Security Service, Stephen Bello, DEA, Brian Keyes, U.S. Marshals, and the men and women of the U.S. Border Patrol that are with us every day. These brave men and women have worked tirelessly to arrest approximately 1,500 criminal aliens and illegal aliens during Operation Patriot. In the beginning of May, ICE and its federal and state partners launched a whole-of-government effort to remove dangerous criminal aliens from all over the Commonwealth. I'll let our Boston Field Office Director give you the specific numbers of Operation Patriot, but what I can tell you is this: that hundreds of brave officers and agents risk their lives every day here in the Commonwealth to remove dangerous criminals from Boston, Worcester, Springfield, Lowell, Lawrence, Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard, and several other communities across the Commonwealth. Significant amount of the criminal aliens that were arrested by the teams were drug traffickers, sex offenders, murderers, and foreign fugitives trying to evade justice in their home countries. It's long past time to remove these dangerous criminals from our communities. What we need to do is prevent them from terrorizing family, friends, and our neighbors. But the bottom line is that ICE and its federal partners wouldn't be able to conduct large-scale operations like this without the partnership you see up here. But more importantly, if sanctuary cities would change their policies and turn these violent criminal aliens over to us into our custody, instead of releasing them into the public, we would not have to go out to the communities and do this. Boston's my hometown, and it really shocks me that officials all over Massachusetts would rather release sex offenders, fentanyl dealers, drug dealers, human traffickers, and child rapists back into the neighborhoods. You know, all too often in Massachusetts and all over the Commonwealth, people use ICE's operations as a talking point, which it shouldn't be. It should be public safety all around. But instead, the brave men and women of ICE, CBP, ATF, DEA, Diplomatic Security Service, and the U.S. Marshals have to go out and pick up some of the most horrible criminals that are roaming free in Massachusetts. These are just some of them. A child sex offender that was previously deported that was released by a local agency but was back living across the street from a playground. A sex trafficker that was arrested for raping a child that was re-released back into the community. A habitual drunk driver who, in the midst of his drunk driving, kidnapped a child. Theft from, we had one person that was previously deported that was stealing from disabled senior citizens. Not only that, but they got several convicted murderers, rapists, spouse abusers, child abusers, and drug traffickers. You can see their mugshots, which are all up here on the photo. And I really want everyone to see that. Because not only did they enter our country illegally, but they were released back into our community by elected officials and sanctuary jurisdictions that did not want to turn these individuals over to ICE. I really want everyone to see their faces and know what's going on. So make no mistake, ICE is going to keep doing this. This operation proved that we need to be more. While this operation was going on, and the brave men and women from all these agencies were out conducting operations, more criminal aliens were being released into the community. We did this already once. We saw a large number in a week time, but that just showed we needed to come back. And we're going to keep coming back. because ICE is going to make sure that we keep our community safe and keep our neighborhood safe from these sex offenders and these criminal aliens. But not only are we going to keep the community safe, my goal is to keep my officers and agents and also the criminal aliens safe, because we'd rather arrest them in a local jurisdiction where it only takes 2 officers or agents and they can turn them over to us in a safe environment, rather than us going back out into the community and then these criminal aliens be released back in our neighborhoods. So with that, I'll turn it over to U.S. Attorney Leah Foley.
Thank you. Good morning, and thank you for being here. As you know, the top priority of the U.S. Attorney's Office has been and will remain protecting the citizens of Massachusetts. And this month-long enforcement surge, led by ICE, has made our communities safer. Since January 20th, our office has charged well over 50 foreign nationals who unlawfully re-entered our country after being deported. This includes 15 individuals charged in the last month alone. These individuals violated our immigration laws when they entered the United States unlawfully, often multiple times. Some went on to commit serious crimes. Those arrested included individuals who pumped deadly narcotics into our neighborhoods, trafficked firearms for transnational criminal organizations, defrauded the government benefit programs, and in some cases preyed on vulnerable children. These are defendants who didn't simply cross a border, they crossed a line and jeopardized the safety of Massachusetts communities. When someone who is here illegally chooses to engage in crime, when they bring fentanyl into our neighborhoods, sell firearms to gangs, or assume false identities to collect benefits intended for vulnerable Americans, these are not immigrants. They are criminals, and they will be treated as such. This is about public safety, plain and simple. Our job is to protect the public, to prevent harm, and to uphold the rule of law. My office will continue to prioritize the prosecution of individuals who are in this country unlawfully and those who pose a threat to our community. Just as I said when I first became U.S. Attorney, if you threaten the safety of our residents, we will find you. We will hold you accountable, and when appropriate, we will remove you from this country. This is the land of opportunity, not the land for opportunists. Enough is enough. When we will hold you accountable for when you commit crimes in this jurisdiction. My office will continue to support and work with ICE to bring charges against those who come here illegally and commit crimes. Equally as important, I also want to add that we will not tolerate anyone who impedes or obstructs ICE operations. What I have seen on the news and in social media is concerning, to say the least. Agents' safety is paramount, and it is a felony to threaten or assault a federal agent. I want to be clear about that. No one is above the law. This is non-negotiable. The law in this area is clear, and I will not sit idly by and watch federal agents being threatened. I also want to thank our partners at ICE and HSI, as well as our federal, state, and local law enforcement agency partners. They tirelessly work collaboratively to stand by each other and to make our community safer. Today, we are announcing real progress. However, we are not done. We are only getting started. And I would like to introduce Patricia Hyde.
Good morning. Thank you, U.S. Attorney Foley. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts is a safer place today, thanks to the work and determination of the men and women of ICE and our federal law enforcement partners. Working together, we were able to arrest almost 1,500 illegal aliens throughout the Commonwealth during the month of May, most of whom have significant criminality in the United States or abroad. Throughout this enhanced immigration enforcement operation, ICE and our federal partners targeted the most dangerous alien offenders in some of the most crime-infested neighborhoods of Massachusetts. Our efforts resulted in the arrests of 1,461 criminal alien offenders. 277 of those offenders have been ordered removed from the United States by a Justice Department immigration judge. Make no mistake, every person we arrested was breaking our immigration laws. But most of these individuals, 790 to be exact, had significant criminality as well. That is 790 alien offenders who victimized innocent people, who traumatized entire communities. Represented in these numbers are murderers, rapists, drug traffickers, child sex predators, and members of violent transnational criminal gangs. We arrested criminal aliens who have been convicted of violent crimes in the United States, and some of who were wanted for criminality in their native countries. All made the mistake of attempting to subvert justice by hiding out in Massachusetts. I want to take this opportunity to say to our officers and law enforcement partners, thank you for your professionalism, tenacity, and dedication to duty. To the residents of our Massachusetts communities, today your streets are a little safer. To the victims of these alien offenders, know that today you will not be mistreated by your attackers. To any criminal alien offenders victimizing Massachusetts residents, ICE is not going away. We are coming for you. While removing these individuals is extremely gratifying, we still have a lot of work to do. While we covet a mutually beneficial cooperative relationship with our state and local partners, we will work around them when it becomes necessary to ensure the safety and security of Massachusetts. ICE and our federal law enforcement partners remain committed to protecting our communities and prioritizing the well-being of our public by locating, arresting, and removing criminal alien offenders and making our New England communities a safer place to live. Now, Special Agent in Charge, Homeland Security Investigations.
Thank you. Good morning, I think it is. My sincere thanks to Director Lyons, U.S. Attorney Foley, and all of our partners with whom I stand shoulder to shoulder with every day to ensure the safety and security of our communities. ICRO, CBP, U.S. Coast Guard, ATF, DEA, DSS, FBI, U.S. Marshal Service, the IRS, U.S. Attorney's Office, and many others. Today, as we announce the arrest of nearly 1,500 illegal aliens over the last 30 days, I want to reiterate, this is not a victory lap. Today is a collective reaffirmation of our commitment to ensuring the public safety and national security of our communities. With each agency bringing unique authorities and expertise, HSI Special Agents will continue a whole-of-government approach to take the fight to transnational criminal actors and organizations who poison our communities, who exploit and victimize our children, who defraud our citizens and government systems, who illegally harbor and employ aliens, who perpetrate violence, and all of those who choose to ignore the rule of law. It should be no secret by now that you will continue to see all of our special agents and officers in your communities conducting daily enforcement actions 24/7. I caution those who try to impede or obstruct operations, or those who dare to threaten or assault our law enforcement officers. We have been and will continue to be working with the U.S. Attorney's Office to investigate and prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law. Our job is to uphold the Constitution, and that's exactly what we're doing. I join my colleagues when I share my heartfelt thanks for the work of the frontline officers and agents who put their lives on the line every day in support of this great nation. Thank you.
Okay, we'll take some questions.
Todd, will you
Director Lyons,
present-
can you speak to
can
the
you answer
roughly
by
50%?
Charlotte?
One second, we'll get ABC News here. Luke?
Two questions. Number one, do you have any update on the Milford teenager that was detained by ICE over the weekend, and where is he? Do you have any status on where that person's name is? And then the second question is, the attack from Colorado overstated pizza, and according to DHS, in the U.S. illegally. Do you have any information on the suspect? Was he on law enforcement's radar? And can you tell us more about his own race?
So I'll take the I'll take Colorado first. So I'll defer to the FBI on that one. It's an active joint terrorism investigation, obviously. Still in the early stages that ICE was able to identify that he had overstayed his visa. While he did have a work authorization permit, it was expired. So with that, I will say that there are millions of individuals like this that we are attempting to locate from the past administration that weren't properly screened, that were allowed in. I will tell you that's a huge effort for ICE right now. In regards to this gentleman, I can't give you any intel as far as it's a joint terrorism task force investigation, and more will be coming out, but I'll defer to my partners in the FBI for that one.
Wait, what about Marcelo Gomes, Silva over the weekend?
In regard to Marcelo Gomes, he remains in ICE custody. He was not the target of the investigation, but like we have repeatedly said, sanctuary policies put us in a position to go out into communities and look for people. When jurisdictions don't cooperate with ICE and we don't arrest people in custodial arrests, then we must go out into the community. And when we go out into the community and we find others who are unlawfully here, we are going to arrest them. We've been completely transparent with that. He's 18 years old, he's unlawfully in this country. And unfortunately, we had to go to Milford to look for someone else, and we came across him, and he was arrested. That's where that stands.
You're looking for someone dangerous and violent?
Well, I'll take that one. So we're looking for his father. So obviously he's the father of the year because brought his son up here illegally as well. And yes, we had intelligence from a local law enforcement agency. We were looking for the father. And like Field Officer Director High said, they made a traffic stop on that vehicle, which was the father's vehicle. He was driving that vehicle. But like any local law enforcement officer, if you encounter someone that has a warrant, or like I said, is here illegally, we will take action on that. We're doing the job that ICE should have been doing all along. And then we enforce all immigration laws.
What's
So
the
what is
danger on his
dangerous,
father?
what is
What's the
dangerous
danger on his
about a
father?
high school junior? He was about to play in the graduation ceremony, play in the band the next day. I guess, what is the danger of the 18-year-old to that community?
So I'll put it back on you. What about an 18-year-old that's just stopped for a traffic violation by Mass State Police who's wanted to be a habitual traffic offender on his way to graduation? Would you be asking that same question to the Mass State Police for not arresting him? Like, I didn't say he was dangerous. I said he's in this country illegally, and we're not going to walk away from anybody.
So where is he? Is he having due process? Does he have a lawyer?
Yeah, well, the whole due process thing, ICE doesn't just scoop people off the street and remove them. Everyone gets due process, and that is what the U.S. Attorney's Office for. It's what the immigration courts are for. They all do that. He will go in front of an immigration judge. He'll have the opportunity to post bond. But again, I'm just going to ask you a question. Boston police stopped an 18-year-old on the way to high school. Are we having this conversation right now?
There would be a crime. There would be some evidence.
It happens every day. Every day, there are multiple 18-year-olds arrested. But yet, we are focused on this one. And I will say, his dad hasn't turned himself in yet, and his dad knows he's the target of it. So,
What's his dad targeted for? What's his dad targeted for?
Sorry, do you have a box? Question. So the governor says Massachusetts is not a sanctuary state, but your teams don't receive assistance when you hit like all these different counties across, not just in Boston, but in these other suburbs and places across the state. So what's your response to the governor on that, and how difficult is it for your teams to not get that assistance? Like when you went to Operation Tidal Wave in Florida, it's a different scenario. You come to Boston, it seems like it's a little bit more difficult.
I think it's a matter of semantics, right? We can say we're not a sanctuary state, but when people are arrested for local charges, drug traffickers who are peddling poison in our communities are walking out the door, not turned over to ICE, what does that sound like to all of you? That's sanctuary. When states and local jurisdictions don't cooperate with ICE and they let bad actors walk out into the community, they let child rapists just walk back out, $500 bail, that is sanctuary. So it's fine to say that you're not, but your actions absolutely show something different.
I have a
As for
follow-up
the
on
search-
that.
as for the
Reuters,
search
could I ask
operation.
Reuters to ask a question?
U.S. Supreme Court last week halted a ruling out of Boston blocked the administration from revoking immigration for all of about 500,000 Venezuelans who had Nicaraguan migrants. And then a couple weeks earlier, the Supreme Court also allowed the administration to issue TPS for thousands of Venezuelans. We talked about the extent ICE is now arresting and detaining people that were covered by those programs. And give us any sense of what the scale of that would look like.
well, in that case, I would refer you over to Citizen Immigration Services. They handle that. ICE is only the enforcement arm of the immigration process. So I can just say that anyone that does no longer has protective status would be in this country illegally, and ICE would take an enforcement action.
As for the search, can you tell me more about the search operation here and exactly, what are the officers
where are the officers coming from to try to help in terms of resources? Are these actual ICE agents or officers, or are they being contracted outside of the agency? And also, how do you know that they're properly vetted here to conduct and follow the same laws?
So what I can tell you is no one's contracted. All the partners up here are Title VIII immigration designated officers. So every federal agency has a Title VIII authority. So these are federal law enforcement special agents and officers from all over the DHS, DOJ. Like I said, it's a whole of government approach. These aren't any contract individuals. But you can see what the numbers, like I said, we ran an operation before up here. And while they were on targeted operations for criminal aliens that were released, other ones were being released at the same time. 24 hours a day, criminal aliens are being released all over Massachusetts. The only way to account and take these other individuals back into custody was to go ahead and partner with our other DHS partners that are here and DOJ partners to ensure that we have the proper manpower to respond whenever someone's released from custody.
Now, on that point, on that
Why
same
are they
question,
so
one question. On that same
Okay.
point,
Can you guys offer a few more specifics on the charges? Are you counting illegal reentry as among those 790 people? That's a significant charges versus how many were convicted, and violent versus non-violent crimes for these people?
Yes, those include people who had been previously deported, were found back in the Commonwealth, and have been charged again with illegal reentry.
So how many were charged for something other than?
I don't have that number, but I can tell you, for example, on May 7th, I believe, ICE took a man into custody who had been removed from the country 5 previous times. He had been arrested 9 times on serious criminal charges, including assault and battery with a dangerous weapon, indecent assault and battery on a person, kidnapping, unarmed robbery, threatening, and intimidation, and he had a conviction for an OUI. Another man who was arrested in Worcester had been deported 4 previous times. He came back into this country, had 3 open OUI charges. Each time he was arrested for OUI, he was released without notifying ICE so that they could go and pick him up safely and securely and put him back in deportation. It was only after he violated one of the terms of his release for that 3rd OUI that ICE was notified and the detainer was allowed to be executed.
Wouldn't it be breaking the
Thank
state?
you very much. That's all the time we have. I'm sorry.
He was being charged, he was being held on violations of his release.
Why do the agents wear masks?
Why do they wear masks?
And also, what do you say when there's people who are charged with child rape, who are out on bail facing more than 10 years behind bars, who are allowed to go home free?
So, hang on. I'm going to answer the mask question. So, no, not the mask, the mask. So, a lot of agencies were invited to come out 2 weeks ago in Los Angeles where we ran an operation where ICE officers were doxxed. So, let's just say that again. People are out there taking photos of the names, their faces, and posting them online with death threats to their family and themselves. So I'm sorry if people are offended by them wearing masks, but I'm not going to let my officers and agents go out there and put their lives on the line and their family on the line because people don't like what immigration enforcement is. They are wearing those masks because we ran an operation with the Secret Service where we arrested someone that was going online, taking their photos, posting their families, their kids' Instagram, their kids' Facebooks, and targeting them. So let me ask, is that the issue here, that we're just upset about the masks? Or is anyone upset with the fact that ICE officers' families were labeled terrorist?
It's about the identification, sir, because some of these agents don't have labels that
Are
say
agencies
who they're with.
intentionally targeting heads of households in an effort to financially pressure people to leave the country?
Christina, are you able to explain some of the actual people going to my office? I'm sorry. Attorney Foley just talked about some cases.
Yep.
Can you get us names and the
Absolutely.
districts that they were released in?
Yep. Which one's the last few that you mentioned? Worcester?
She named the DUI, the
Yep.
one who was deported like
5 times.
New Bedford, anything.
Are you guys just not gonna release the entire manifest of everybody that you rounded up and all of the charges that are associated with them?
So you're talking about the criminal charges? So there's a difference between the administrative arrests, which ICE does.
So we're looking for the breakdown, so
Yeah.
all, because it says 790 of them are criminal, what about the other million, you know, 600, like, who are they?
So I don't know how ICE handles that. When Jim comes back, we can ask him if he releases names that way. Obviously, on the criminal side here, when we file criminal charges, that's easy. We can.
That's part of the problem, we can't look and see like who they are, if it's administrative, there's no public record, or if they're just sneaking into.
That's not a DOJ arm, so I don't know.
And many of the people speaking today refer to the people taken in as having criminality tied to their name. Does that mean they were charged?
No.
Does that mean that they were convicted?
I think they were referring to criminal records. So if there were criminal charges, they would be here. It would be public. That I can give you. I can give you the 53 cases, right? I mean, that's easy.
So criminality means they were convicted of the charges of the crimes they were charged with?
Not necessarily. Yeah. Some people have open cases. Some are convicted.
But
Yeah.
when you put on, are you putting on a press release that
ICE
breaks
is-
this down, or just ICE, and will they give
ICE.
us the actual,
I don't know.
the list of the names?
I will
who
ask
they
James
are,
how he-
where there's a public accounting, and also some of these people came into the country, some of the cases you
Mhm.
had recently come into the country like decades ago, under
Mhm.
various administrations.
Yep.
And they came back repeatedly. So where's the breakdown in terms of some of these people, like you talked about people that are out released by officials, even judges, right?
Mhm, mhm.
Like judges release
Yes.
them. So are these people awaiting trial on state charges, or are these people who are already convicted, serve their state
So these are
sentences
questions
and
for ICE. I don't know how they handle these
Would've been
things.
nice to ask them.
Yeah, it would have
Will they
been.
come
But
back
we can
out?
ask him, and I will ask James to come out and answer some questions informally to help you guys out on
What
the
were
ICE
the
front.
53 cases?
The 53 were criminal cases charged in this building.
Okay.
And
That
are
had to do with
these-
the 1,500 people, 53.
I don't know if they're, this is an ICE poster,
I don't know
right?
if it's that,
Yeah.
but-
So those are folks that we've arrested since January 20th,
Okay.
which is, in this district, a high number, obviously. So I can get you that list. That's public information.
And the 277 ordered removed by a judge, will we be able to?
So that's an ICE function. So DOJ and DHS is separate entities, and so I'll have to rely on our ICE counterparts to answer any
If there's
questions.
any influence you have, it's really, really helpful for us to be
Yep.
able to see the breakout.
I'll talk to them.
So of the total 1,500,
Yep.
how many have federal criminal charges against them?
I'll check. I'm not sure if they're lumped in with that number, but I'll check. I know what you're asking. I'll look.
So the 53 is all aliens who've been charged with any federal crimes since January.
1326, as we call them, illegal reentry.
So those specific
But so the 53 face federal charges, and then do you have, or could they give us an accounting of the state, how many people were facing state charges? And
I mean, that would be ICE. Again, that's not my wheelhouse, but I can ask.
And
I'll ask
but
James
the
to come out.
Federal charges, there's here, right?
Yep.
The face of charges.
Yep.
But if
The
it's
state-
state charges, they let them go.
I don't know. Yeah. Anybody else?
So
The
if
53, you may have said this, the 53 is a part of the 15.
I don't know. I don't know if they lumped those in. I just know those are our numbers.
And
Yeah.
those are all illegal reentry, not necessarily extra charges.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the Milford
I'm assuming so. Yeah. Yeah. There were no charges brought here, so I wouldn't know.
So Director Lyons said that they got some information on the Milford team as a result of a local law enforcement agency.
So I don't think they're going to get into specifics. So James, they were asking questions about the numbers. The 1,500.
It was 1461 was the final number.
Are you gonna have a list of all the people you can?
All of them? No.
Yes.
Why not?
I mean, because we don't do that for privacy
Is the public
reasons.
not entitled to know who the rest of it is?
If you have a question about certain people, I can certainly do that.
I don't want
You want to know all the names? Let me get back to you.
What they were charged with ICE.
Can you give us so we can.
Yes, there is a press release out. It should be on ice.gov newsroom, and it goes through all these folks.
It has their picture next to their
So, James, in New Bedford, we've noticed that since the president's inauguration, most of the people detained have been men, and many of them are heads of households contributing significantly financially to their houses. Is that an ICE tactic to pressure families to leave the country of their own volition after so many people take?
I'd have to refer you to either Todd or to. I was told I was going to be answering questions about the individuals. Yes, sir.
Really about there was a lot of accusations saying that local jurisdictions, especially the ones that are sanctuary cities, not abiding by the request to hold somebody. But something we were trying to ask here is there's a Lund decision here, and a lot of these jurisdictions will say they don't have that authority because then they would be breaking state law. And so we, the question was asked and not picked up, and so I just wanted to know what is ICE's really stance on that.
I mean, that's a fair question, but I'm not. I don't.
Tell you what, why don't you email me the question?
Yeah,
If there's
that
some
talks to
questions that you
policy.
think, we just give us a minute to.
The ID, should they have ID? It's in some operations, there's no identification.
Right, but these are getting into policy issues, I don't think James can.
James, I have a super quick question about Marcelo Gomez's case. Director Lyons said that his dad was the target of this. Can you speak to?
We have a statement coming on that out on that later today, ma'am. It'll speak to
Do
that.
you have anything related to his, if he has a criminal record?
I would have to look into that, ma'am. I've been.
Out of the nearly 15 or the 14 to 61, how many have pending criminal charges?
We had 790 had either convictions or pending criminal charges.
Can you
In terms
break
of that
it down?
Wilford student, would he have been detained if he was a minor? Okay.
So, again, you're getting into policy, sir. I'm here. I'm just answering questions on the press release and what we're getting.
Could you break down? Sorry, could you break down the pending versus convictions when you give those numbers out?
I can't do it right now, ma'am. I'd have to have my notes in front of me. But if you
Okay,
want to,
no, in the email, get that out to us. We can email you just to know of give us a big picture look at how many. You had this announcement today of all these people. How many had prior convictions? How many were facing current charges? And how many didn't? And then if we could get the names of all of them, that's I think what everyone's
let me
asking.
see what I can do about the names.
So I guess this question here, what's the expectation for the sanctuary cities and states? towns?
Again, I think, why don't you email that question to both of us and we'll try to get you an answer.
The expectation is they honor ICE detainers. That they turn over, violent criminal offenders to ICE when
Maybe if there could be some clarification too, I mean, because the state says we're talking about civil detainers versus criminal charges. But is ICE saying that they're not getting any cooperation from the locals on helping arrest people that are facing criminal charges?
that's a jurisdiction by jurisdiction question, ma'am. I would defer you to the field officer.
Can you clarify when you say some of those 790 were pending criminal charges? Are some of them also people who have criminal records but those charges were dismissed?
Criminal records charges dismissed. None of them were in that case. If the charges were dismissed, then
That is not part of
yes, sir. So 790 people who either had convictions or criminal charges pending.
You see that you want specifics, one that we haven't heard today, Ramesa Oster. I don't think we ever heard yet why.
That's an HSI question. I can't
State
answer.
Department was here today.
Right. I
Can we
mean,
get an answer on why?
you'd have to ask the State Department that, sir. I'm sorry. I'm not the State Department.
ICE was involved in the arrest.
I can't answer the question, sir.
Anyone
James,
else?
how many agents participate? This is a month-long surge. How many agents from all these agencies?
How many total?
Where did they come from?
They came from well, like you saw, all the folks here. We had some surge capacity. What's the word I'm looking for? I'm sorry, I'm very tired.
How many total agents? Do you have that number?
I'll have to get that to you, sir.
They were coming from other EROs from across the country. Is that it?
From other regions, yes, sir, but not. I don't know if it came from all across the country, or if they were just the Northeast.
And
but
all of the agencies you saw
Right.
standing here today.
Right.
there were other. Yes, sir.
We do see FBI and DEA often out there, especially more recently with this search. But the thing is, I think part of the identification of the mass problem was, again, identity. Some of them just say federal officer, some of them don't say it, and so.
They should all be wearing. They all have badges, correct? So badges displayed,
Not displayed, not wall mount. Several of them didn't and would not answer a question.
and just had normal clothes on. They had nothing
No, they
identified.
had- they had-
They're not standardized
they had armored
uniforms.
gear.
Right.
They don't say like where they're from, where we're used to local and state police, their
Mhm.
names are there, we know who they are immediately.
Okay.
And you got fake cops in New York, so isn't that dangerous not to have ID?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
And also is it
that's your
dangerous
point.
for them?
Yeah, that's what I
People
mean.
don't know that they're actually real.
Yeah, some people are just like impersonated sometimes, like they are
for our agents, but like, how do we know that if they got on there now? Because it's like very limited.
Wall pass, there's not one person with an idea.
We'll take that back.
Yeah.
Sure. All right, guys, we gotta get.
Thank you.
things
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for coming back.